for this lesson, I want to talk with you about, well, as much as possible, the rules for when you use the when there's only one of something. But of course, there are some exceptions. So we're going to go over some basic rules and then the main exceptions. What you need to do to score well on the IELTS is to memorize the exceptions and then use one or two of them as much as possible in your writing response as well as your spoken response. This will show fluency. Okay, so here we go. So the is used when there is one of something. So, I might ask you, can you hand me the pencil that's on the desk? This means that I'm referring to a specific pencil, maybe my favorite pencil or the pencil I was using earlier, and I left it on the desk. If I say, can you hand me a pencil? It means that there are probably several pencils somewhere and I don't care which one I get. I'm just reviewing with you a little bit the difference between the for a specific item and a for any item whatsoever. All right, so now here are some words that we always use the word the with. So I say the ground, the sun, the world. What's happening in the world right now? The ocean, the internet, the sky, the moon. And because there is only, well, again, we have an exception with ocean, okay? Even though there are more than one ocean in the world, we still use the word the with it. It doesn't make any sense, but just memorize that you talk about the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Caspian Sea. It doesn't follow the rules, and please don't try to ask why, because it just doesn't help. Just memorize. All right. So if I want to say something like, oh, look at the sun. It's bright in the sky today, right? There's only one sun, so I use the with it. Or if I want to talk about the internet, I might say, wow, isn't the internet a great thing? There's only one of them, at least so far. And probably even if there are more than one someday, we still will say the internet. Okay, so you definitely need to memorize these. And try to use these words as much as possible so that you can earn points. Now, words without the, words that don't take the. Things like sizes. So if you go into a store and you want a particular size of something, you say, do you have this in size 40? You don't say, do you have this in the size 40? Again, don't ask why. I don't know why, but it's just a rule that we have. Even though there's only one size 40, we don't use the word the. We just say size 10, size 39, size 40. All right. Other times we don't use the are times when we're talking about numbers. So I'll say, oh, yes, I want train number 15 on platform 3. I don't use the word the in any of those situations. So whenever there's a number involved, I want flight number 627. No the. And the common words breakfast, lunch, and dinner don't use the. And these are really good to memorize because on the IELTS, they're going to be asking you to talk about something familiar to you or describe a time that you remember, and you can use words like breakfast, lunch, and dinner without the word the, and you'll earn points because they're tricky, right? And I can tell you from teaching for 25 years that most students learning English will say, oh, isn't it time for the dinner? Or when do we have the breakfast? No. Isn't it time for dinner? Or when do we have breakfast? Okay, now I want to also finally give you a couple of examples of other things that you need to know about the. All right, so here's an example where I use the twice in this sentence because they come right before words that are considered times that we use the. The first time is kind of a review of something you know already, and the second one is a word that we learned in this lesson. So the sentence is, the stars in the sky are beautiful. Now, notice I'm using the twice, but not for the same reasons. In the case of the stars, I'm speaking of the specific stars that are visible to me right now. I'm looking and I see, whatever stars I see, those stars, the stars, that's what I'm speaking of. So it's not that there's only one star, but it's because I'm speaking of a particular grouping that I see right now. So the stars in the sky are beautiful. Now the sky is one of our words that always takes the word the, because there's only one of them, technically, although we often talk about skies, plural, and we may say, the skies are beautiful. Again, don't ask why. But so here's an example where we use the, but for two very different reasons. Okay, finally, the next thing that you need to remember about the word the is we use the before the term movies and before the term theater. And this is important, again, because on the IELTS, when they ask you the interview questions or they ask you to agree or disagree with something, you may need to use phrases like this that can earn you points. So we say, we go to the movies. Or in British English, I believe you say, you go to the cinema. Either one is correct. Finally, we go to the theater. If you like to see plays, you go to the theater. That's just how we say it. I don't know why, because there's more than one theater, right? But when we speak of this in this way, we're speaking of it very generally. So they might ask you, oh, Jose, do you like to go to the movies? This means sort of in general, do you like to go to any movie? It doesn't matter. Is it something that you enjoy doing? And you can say, yeah, I do. I like to go to the movies. All right, so memorize all of these things. So here are words that always take the. These are words that don't take the. This is an example sentence. Let me put this little marker here for you. This is an example sentence that explains or shows you two times that we use the in the sentence, but for different reasons. And then finally, the last thing you need to remember is that the phrase go to the movies and go to the theater. All right, so that's our first lesson in this class about how to use the. Thanks so much.